Can you hear
Right.
me okay? Do you want me to go on
Yeah.
headphones? What's
No,
works
no, no.
best?
That's fine. Yeah, you sound great.
Awesome.
It's good to connect with you again, man. When was the last time that you and I were together?
My gosh. Well, physically together is probably what, about 2012 or
Yeah.
so.
Yep.
If we've crossed paths on different social media platforms, but nice to have a more formal gathering.
Yeah. Thanks for getting up so early. Appreciate that.
We're up and going. Sometimes it's nice to get things going before the kids get ready for school and everything gets rolling.
Yeah. Tell me about your kids. How many kids do you have?
I've got three. My daughter is 16. My two boys are 14. So everybody's in high school. So my internet is being eaten up every day by three kids doing their high school stuff from home.
That's why it's
Uh,
important to get up early then.
yeah. Yeah. That way I'm not going to interfere with their learning. They can go back to school 2 days a week. My daughter's not too keen. She says it's kind of boring. The boys are freshmen. They don't know any better. So they'll go back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
How's your family?
my oldest is a freshman too. So he's just trying to tread the high school life and figure out what that looks like for him. But he's enjoying it. We live here in Utah and Salt Lake, and they're still in school. They've got COVID parameters that say if they
Right.
pass certain thresholds, then they shut things down. And luckily they haven't crossed those thresholds yet. So, or hopefully they won't ever get there. And so
Right.
they're enjoying it. I have my middle son is in the 5th grade, and they do a compact schedule. I think they've cut like an hour and a half off of his school day, and so he loves it. He thinks it's great because every day is like he feels like it's like a
Perfect.
half day. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, they're doing well. And then I have a little tiny. I got three as well, three boys, and then a little one at home. So I appreciate you taking time. I'm interested in some of your thoughts and just your experience working with USAV. And I don't know if I knew this, but how did you first get connected with USA Volleyball? How did the whole thing kind of plan out?
Well, that's an interesting story. In 2003, I did my 2 week rotation up in Colorado Springs, kind of
Mm,
my entry point into the US Olympic pathway, shall we say. And after you do that, they kind of send you a letter saying either you did well, move on, or good luck. So they said, well, we want you to be part of the system.
mm,
And then, as you well know, in 2005, the US men's volleyball team moved to Anaheim.
yeah.
So there they are, right in my backyard. At the time, Aaron Brock put out kind of a call to arms. Anybody want to help out? And I guess either nobody else applied or he liked me. Anyway, we started working together, and that's where it started.
Wow.
So it was the opportunity to meet some of the players and officials in the Springs back in '03, and then being geographically favorable when the team moved to Anaheim.
Yeah. And how have you enjoyed working with Erin? I've got a big place in my heart for AB and the work that he's done, but I think that you guys have a cool connection as well.
We've developed a professional relationship, a personal relationship. I just have nothing but the greatest respect for what he's built. He's an ultimate team player. He's one to make sure that the best outcome for the team and the player comes first, and he'll spare no effort to get the best people involved, ask the right questions, go ahead and advocate. So it's been an amazing experience.
Hmm. That's the kind of guy you want on your team, right? Just somebody that's willing to go to bat for you and do whatever it takes to help you succeed. And that's definitely what I saw in him and yourself. I mean, it's just we've got lots of really great shared experiences over the years. So, um, have you been working exclusively with indoor teams, the indoor team, or have you also done work with some of the beach teams as well?
I did work with the beach teams in Beijing in '08, and more recently, it's been primarily indoor, both the men
Yeah,
and women. So with both of them in Anaheim, that's plenty of work. The beach folks are now more up in Redondo, Hermosa Beach,
right.
and they've got their own team. So every so often we'll cross discuss things, and especially policies with COVID lately. But most of the time, I'm with the indoor group, and I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. You see any real differences by way of what you work with, or injuries, things that people are focused on between the indoor players and the beach players? Are things similar, or are there different things that they're trying to focus on that in your perspective?
I think, indoor, just given the nature of the surface that you folks play on and just the nature of the sport, you've got folks playing for the national team. And when their national commitment ends sometimes in the early fall, off you go to the international scene. So it's
Right.
pretty much a year-round effort. This year, of course, is a big exception. So I think with the indoor group, we're seeing a lot more of that repetitive overload of the shoulder, of the back, of the ankle. Whereas in the beach, it seems to be there's a little bit more downtime. The sand tends to be a little bit more forgiving. The difference with beach too is only two players. So really, how long can you practice? After about hour and a half, you're done. There's just two
Yeah.
of you, and there's not much more you can do. So I think we see just a different load pattern on the indoor player.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could see that also in the lifespan of the players, because generally, and I'm just saying this generally, there's some exceptions, of course, but typically you're at your kind of your peak indoors in your late 20s, creeping right to about 30 is when I felt like at least I was at my peak. But on the beach, it tends to be a little bit later. On the beach, you kind of see people hit their peak in their like mid 30s, which is kind of on the downside of an indoor career as well. And I'm assuming a lot of what you just talked about is the reason for that, is that there's all the load bearing and the extra grind on the body. It only, your body can only take so much for so long, right? And that's why you also see a lot of indoor guys, when they reach a peak indoor, then if there's a desire, they'll then kind of transition over to the beach. Oftentimes you'll see guys do that.
Yeah, no doubt. It's fascinating. I think I was hearing you speak with Loy Ball a while back about how men entry to volleyball tends to be later than women
Right.
in the United States. Often men will enter as a high school athlete, whereas women may enter more late elementary, middle school. And I think you do see more men players because they entered later, peak a bit later in the career, and then look like at the end of their indoor career decide, hey, I'm going beach.
Yeah.
We look at Reed Pretty now, who's 40 something, trying to make the run for Tokyo, and successful indoor career deciding beach, and he's not the only one doing it. So it is fascinating to see that, but I think it does extend the career by a few years.
Yeah. What, as you think back and look back on your time with the team and all the experiences you've had, what were some of your fondest memories up to this point, working with Team USA and all the many things that you were able to be involved in and experience?
Well, I think it's the relationships we've built with the athletes, the coaching staff, the support staff. One thing about the culture of USA Volleyball, very inclusive. So when you're a member of the travel party, you're all in. It's not like you're on the outside and they'll only invite you to certain elements. It's, hey, you're with us beginning to end. So you get to know athletes, you get to know their families, you get to know the support staff. And that's, I think, something I really enjoyed. I mean, just this week, I got to see Krista Hermoder Dietzen and her son. She's now a mom, doing wonderful. So it's great to see those relationships extend. Obviously, highlights, you got to look at 2008 Beijing, the experiences culminating with your group winning the gold medal, the women taking silver, 2 beach gold medals.
Yeah.
But just that whole process and the culmination of and the work that was put, and we've all learned that. I've just enjoyed meeting people, learning from them, and building those relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Spot on with that. I'm also curious, you've seen a lot of volleyball over your tenure there. In your eyes, how is the game evolving? How's it changing that you've seen over the course of the work that you've done?
I think it's most fascinating to see how national the game is, especially on the women's side. We're getting athletes from every corner of the country.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting to see athletes from not just the West Coast or perhaps the Midwest, we've got the South, we've got the East. And I think the men's game is changing that way too. So we're getting a bigger pool of we're getting athletes who may have played other sports. They're bringing different skill sets to the game of volleyball. And I think that's what makes it exciting, is you just have a greater ability to draw on talents and skills. It makes the coaching staff have to work harder. You've got so many more players who can play at that highest level. So I think it's just the change it's not just a Southern California game. It's not just a West Coast game. It's truly a national game.
Yeah. We need that. We really do. I think the game needs that. I mean, it's great that it kind of originated in SoCal and there's a lot of history there, of course, but if we ever want volleyball, those volleyball fans like us that want volleyball to continue to grow, it needs to become more national. It needs to grow internationally like it is. And so, yeah, it's great to hear you say that. Let's get a little technical. What should volleyball players be focusing on strengthening based on the injuries that you've seen over your years and dealt with that most don't as much as they should? Is there anything you would highlight?
I would say you got to work on the backside, and that means the backside of your shoulder, the muscles that support the shoulder blade, allow you to block, allow you to serve, allow you to hit. Then we move a bit south, the muscles behind the hips, the muscles in the lower back. So when you're jumping and you're landing, you're getting that defensive stance, you're a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Again, the challenge is younger players, they'll play high school, they go straight to club. There's not that training element of a season where they can just do strength work or jump training. Maybe in the collegiate game they can, because you have that defined off season.
Right.
But I think if you go and talk to a younger player who's trying to build up his or her talent base, and say, if you work on those particular areas, back of the shoulder, back of the hips, we work on the technique, it's probably going to extend your career and make you more effective.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. You know, I was thinking of some of the questions that I wanted to ask you, and there were a number of things that popped into my head, but are there injuries that you've seen volleyball players sustain that people would be surprised to hear about, and that you've seen kind of like regularly, that people would be like, oh, I've never really thought of that being something to, be concerned about or need to be aware of?
I think there's two things that have come to mind. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of stress injuries to the lower back, usually from the rotation and the twisting. And it's interesting in that, let's say the injuries on the left side of the lower back, that's in a right-sided hitter. And so I'm learning to, like, for example, some people come in with a back injury and I'll look at their studies and go, I bet you hit right-handed. How do you know? So it's taking the injury in the back. And if you stay there, you'll get them better. But if you let's look at your hitting technique. Let's look at what you're doing with your shoulder. Let's look at that range of motion. Now we can truly make you better. So I think it's the combination. As you know, the volleyball game involves the whole body. So if you don't look at the whole body in an injury, you're going to miss something. I think the other thing that unfortunately is becoming more apparent is the concussion risk, and how many of those happen in non-competitive play. How many of them happen because we've got a bunch of balls out during a hitting drill, people kind of messing around, somebody's trying to throw a ball in the hopper, it bounces and hits somebody, or you turn your back for a second, you get nailed. So awareness, ball control, those things are just so key. Yeah.
The concussion one is interesting. And I've heard you talk about this in different articles that you've written for or done. And, back when I was playing back in you would rarely hear about or talk about concussions. But it totally makes sense, because, oh my goodness, there were dozens, maybe even hundreds of times when I would have been hit in the head, either on a block, which happens a lot, as you know, or, a ball just flying in from somewhere and it's hitting me in the back of the head or from the side of the head, or playing defense, as you get hit quite often in the face and in the head as well, or running into people as well. And I think just over the last, 5 to 10-ish years, you've been hearing a lot more different studies around the different side effects of concussions, but it never really creeped into the volleyball conversation. So I think it's probably important that we're having that conversation now as it pertains to the game. The question then becomes, what's the solution? If there needs to be a solution in the future, in your eyes, what does that look like potentially?
I think you go back to that ball control thing. So if we're doing a hitting line, we've got everybody hitting in one direction. If we're doing service, everybody serves in one direction. And then you kind of almost call a timeout, go grab the balls, pick them up. Okay, start hitting back the other way. If I'm going to put the DS or libero out to maybe return those serves, you're not having 5 balls coming at him or her at one time. Yeah, don't be turning your back on things. Younger players, hey, call things out. I mean, sometimes that libero is trying to chase down a ball, or the setter's trying to go find a ball out of system. And you know how some of these gyms, the courts are pretty tight. They'll run right off court into somebody else's court.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can, again, kind of control the play and the environment, we're not going to eliminate everything. Sure, things are going to happen on a block, like you said, playing defense, but we can eliminate the ones that are more accidental, and the fewer numbers are a good thing.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to get a little bit more deliberate, a little bit more structural around, knowing that this is a concern and being able to formulate potentially some drills and exercises specifically around reducing the risk, right? That's interesting.
When I started traveling with USAV, if I went to practice, my main job was to make sure no loose balls were on the court. You don't want anybody going up in the air, coming down, landing on a ball. That would just be bad form. So, I almost stop practice and I'd run out, grab the ball, get out of the way. So we almost have to look like that with concussion. If there's loose balls, hey, get them out of the way, but let's not have somebody just jump in there and grab it and get nailed. Yeah. So same thought process, protect the ball, protect the players.
Yeah, I remember the rule of thumb in the gym was if you were if you were a player that wasn't actively in the drill, your role was to ensure also that if there are any loose balls that you're flying in there, grabbing it, taking it off and getting it out of the way. And so, yeah, I remember that. I want to get your thoughts on this. So I've often talked about what separates good players from great players. So the way I see it, a big difference is the ability for the great players to sustain excellence over time. I feel like even good players can achieve excellence. A lot of people can do that. They can win a tournament. They can win this. Maybe they're the best this at a certain period of time. But it's the great players that are able to do that over sustained periods of time. And in my mind, a big part of that is the ability to manage pain, particularly at the Olympic professional level. What are you seeing nowadays that you're excited about in regards to changing the game around pain management? I just got one of these, and because I'm older and if I'm still playing, I feel like I'm looking for anything that's going to help me recover better. Obviously it's harder for me to recover now. I'm in my early 40s, and like, if I go play ball, I'm sore afterwards. And if I want to play the next day or in 2 days, then I've got to figure out what it's going to take in order for my body to recover in a way that's going to allow me to do that effectively. Is there anything that you're seeing that you're excited about in regards to helping guys continue to manage pain?
I think there's more of that active recovery. I think gone are the days you kind of show up to the gym 10 minutes before practice, lace them up, go play. Hey, we're done. Shoes off. Let's go home.
Yeah.
I think players at a younger age are realizing, hey, there's a pre and a post practice or game routine you go through. It's not just for the old guys. It's nice to see some of the younger players who think they got it all adopt that early in their career. They'll find, some people, the Normatex work. Some people, the friction massage, the guns work for them. So you find what works. I think there's a good emphasis on nutrition. Hey, what you put in your body makes a difference. Used to be, again, the guys right out of college could eat anything, do anything. They were invincible.
Right.
And you can always tell when they were starting to get a little nervous about the role in the team because they'd go talk to the dietitian. Now that's happening hopefully earlier and earlier in the career. We talk a lot about sleep. We try to really look at, hey, we're traveling overseas. How many time zones? How can we make this more effective? Yeah. So I think it's people taking the active role, really asking questions. And yes, there's a role for medication, but I think there's less of a role. People aren't saying, hey, just throw me a pill. It's what else can I do? Are there natural things? Are there things like your ginger, your turmeric, your tart cherry juice, things that can really help that have fewer side effects and yet help deal with the discomfort that comes with being a high-level volleyball player?
Yeah. I love all that. Okay, I want to ask you just a couple questions about you personally. I want to get to know you a little bit, okay? Um, name a couple players that in your eyes you were just like when you saw them play, could be current players, past players, whatever it is, when you saw them play, you were just kind of like, wow, like this person is special. Is there anybody that a couple handful that come to mind?
I think the first one would be a Clay Stanley. Just the
Yeah.
power that he would bring in the gym. When he would jump, the gym would stop because
Yeah.
there was just like almost a Richter scale like effect when he would play. And yet
Yeah.
just, calm, cool guy off the court. You think he'd be
Yeah.
this kind of this aggressive. No, just Clay was the Hawaii guy who just was so calm. So I just enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah. He
As you
was
move,
special. He was special.
and then you move to, like more of a current play. You look at a Matt Anderson, who we can
Yeah.
ask to play opposite. We could ask him to play outside. I think he can drive the bus if we need to. So just watching him play has just been an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then you think of some of the athletes who just had long careers, like a Danielle Scott. How many years she just played, and yet just the most graceful of athletes. Uh, you could be in the midst of a match, you'd be sitting next to her on the bench. She's asking how the family's going.
Hmm.
Here we are, in a semifinal match, the Olympic Games. She's done this how many times, and yet she's just more questioning how you're doing, and I'm going to go out and do my thing. I'll be back.
Yeah.
So just not just the performance on the court, but how people carry themselves off the court.
Yeah. Talk about sustained excellence. 5 Olympics,
Yep.
Multi-sport athlete. And then just like you said, just super gracious and just a really, really great person. And I mean, to me, that's greatness, right? It's the ability to balance life, the ability to be great at your craft and to be able to do it for a long time. And you think of guys that have been able to do that and women that have been able to do that. She definitely comes to mind. Yeah. Okay. Is there something that not a lot of people know about you? Do you have any like hidden talents or even like if you say something, your friends would be like, "Oh, I didn't know that about Chris." Anything that
I don't
comes
know
to
about
mind?
hidden talents. I wish there was something to be out. I think a lot of it is the work that gets done that you may not see. I think the expression I got years ago was you always want to appear like a duck. On the surface, you're just kind of floating along. It was, oh, you're so mellow, yet underneath you're paddling like all get up. So I think sometimes, do they see the extra effort, that internal clock working, that internal mind going overdrive? I think that's some of the stuff that goes, oh, you're such a mellow, you seem like you always have under control. Yeah, well, what you see on the surface, there's always that fight underneath. That always, you never want to get passed up. You never want to miss something or for a lack of effort.
Yeah. I put AB Aaron right in that same boat. Like, you think he's kind of this mellow guy, but behind the scenes, he's always churning. He's always trying to
Oh yeah.
figure out how he can be better. And you're right there with him. So I'm glad you said that. That's a
You
good.
see what time some of the text messages come back and forth between Erin and myself. It's like, okay, we both have that. Hey, sometimes we can't turn it off, both to the positive and probably to our detriment at times.
Yeah. Um, what's a trait you most dislike about yourself?
Probably, can overreact a little too quick. Like you get a piece of bad news or news you didn't anticipate, and your first reaction is, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? And you get this kind of negative self-doubt. And then you
Yeah.
take a deep breath or you go on and realize, okay, yeah, it's not the best news, but wait a second, it's not as bad, or it's not a fault. It's not a point your finger. It's what do we learn from it?
Yeah.
So it's almost like let's get through that initial visceral reaction, which is negative, and learn from it.
Hmm. How about a trait that you dislike in others? Just as you interact with people, is there anything that just bothers you?
Not listening.
Uh,
I think not if you're going to be in a conversation, if you're going to be sharing of information, be open with it. If it's more like I'm listening, but I'm not, I'm on my phone, or I'm listening because I have to, but I'm really not processing it. That's tough.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with that one. Um, I'm curious of your thoughts on this one. Have you ever had any near-death experiences?
Let me think. I mean, a few times on my mountain bike, the trail suddenly changed directions and you feel a bit out of control and you wonder, gee, how's this thing going to turn out? More in my younger days when, push the envelope a bit. So yeah, a few
Doing
times,
that or doing something else?
mostly on the bike, like you get in
Oh,
the air
really?
and like, okay, I thought this was going to be a few foot jump and it turned out to be a bit more. And you're like, okay, I'm in the air longer than I thought. I sure hope it's going to turn out okay.
I'm still in the air. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yep. This is going to be interesting. Let's see, like if I can survive this and make the phone call home, I'm in good shape. Somebody else is making the call. We got some issues.
Hopefully they don't have to call the lifeline.
Yeah, I
You
don't
still
want
you
that.
still get out on a bike? You
I'm going to
enjoy
get out
that?
on the bike when we finish this conversation. It's been great in the sense that my daughter just started driving. So we have 2 cars at home and 3 drivers. So when I get the request, hey, can you bike to work so that everybody else has a car? No problem.
Yeah.
So I've been able to bike to work, and it's been nice for just the emotional release, some of your best thinking when you're exercising. So
Yeah.
enjoy doing it.
That's cool. Um, if you, I'm also curious of your thoughts on this one too, because if you weren't doing what you were doing today, what would be your dream job, or like what would you assume that you would be doing?
I wonder if I'd still be in some kind of teaching and coaching, advising role, because I just enjoy that element of what I do, the learning from other folks and then taking what you've learned, sharing it with people, and then hearing what they have to say, much like what you're doing with your podcast. You probably come
Yeah.
in with some ideas. You're going to teach as much as you're going to learn from what you're doing and just the sharing of information.
Yeah.
So I think those are the kind of things I'd be looking at doing, maybe continue with some of the writing elements and just, again, learning and building.
You got the Chris Koutures book coming out soon. I'm sure you got lots of things to share.
There's some things to share. I did write a textbook with a very trusted colleague, Valerie Wong, about 7 years ago on sports medicine. So that was fun and great learning experience. Got a lot of colleagues to share in on that. And that's, more of a formal textbook. Yeah, maybe the day
Right.
will come, gee, in my ample free time, that we put something else. But I think there's still some chapters yet to be lived before that gets
Sure.
going.
Oh, absolutely. How long do you see this continued assignment going, or what's your desired time frame? Is there one?
As long as USA Volleyball wants to have me, I'm excited. At the same time, if all goes according to plan, 2028, Los Angeles is going to host the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
And at one point, the volleyball venue was the Honda Center, which is about
Very
10 minutes
cool.
from my house. So, it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting to say, hey, kids, I'm going to the Olympics. I'll be home in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then bike down the road. That would
Yeah.
be kind of
Not have to deal
interesting.
with traffic or anything.
Exactly. So, that might be an interesting way to finish up.
Oh man.
We'll see where it goes, but obviously there's some work to be done before then.
Yeah. 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 I'm excited about it though. That's cool. Um, I know this as much as you do. You've been all over the world. Where's a dream vacation? If no money's no object, you can just go. You're taking the fam. Where are you guys going? Any place that really you're just like, yeah, we need to go there at some point?
I think at some point, I'm from Greece and the island of Cyprus. My wife has family in Greece. We've never taken the kids. So at some point, we've always talked about they've got to be older to really appreciate it, because it's going to be, as 10 hours to get there, probably a couple-week journey. We don't want to take them when they're younger and just not able to appreciate it. So that's probably where I'm looking at some point, when we're able to start traveling again, that's probably a higher priority on my list.
Yeah. Yeah. Greece is amazing. It's beautiful there. Okay. It's your last meal on earth. What are you going to have? What's your meal look like?
My last meal on earth, I'd probably have to go with, my wife can make some amazing fish. My wife can make some amazing things. So I'd probably look at her and say,
Do your worst. Do your best.
Let's go. Do your best. This is it.
That's funny. Name a movie where you teared up.
No, there's been quite a few of them, but gosh, I got to think of the last one I watched where I teared up.
Or TV show, because we don't watch too many movies anymore. But
right. Well, it's interesting. I'll have to throw out Miracle, the
Oh
1980
yeah.
U.S. Olympic hockey team. And that story is interesting because it was 2007 for Christmas. I got a book about the hockey team. And, I've been a big fan. I was, 12 when they won it, big deal. And that kind of got me excited about the whole Olympic pathway. So I get the book and I read it, a day or two. And we flew home from spending Christmas with my wife's family, and we're going through the mail. And I pull out the bills and throw them aside. And then my wife goes, "Hey, you got something from the Olympic Committee?" And I'm looking at it going, "Oh, it's probably my Christmas card." I open it up. It was the invitation to go to the Olympic Games.
Oh wow.
And I kind of knew it was coming, but when you get that, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, wait, I just read the book, Miracle, and it got me all fired up to be in that whole Olympic pathway. And so it was the bridge of, hey, starting with a book, there's the invitation, and thanks to you and your 11 teammates, we got to ride that gold medal thing. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh wow. That's a cool story. I like that. Yeah, I like Miracle's a great story too. Yeah, it's just I remember I was on a flight once and there was a Russian gentleman sitting next to me, and we just kind of got to chatting, and for some reason the conversation turned to the Miracle on Ice, and he's like, "Yeah, can I give you a perspective from the Russian side on that whole story?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd actually be really interested to hear your perspective." And he goes, "Well, I mean, that it was all rigged, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, tell me more." He goes, "I mean, come on, like, there's no way that American team could have beat the Russian team. We're talking." He's like, he gave a comparison of like a professional NBA team playing against middle school players, and
I've
the
heard
middle
that
school team
analogy.
beating him. And they're like, "Well, it was an important time in the world, and there was all this governmental dynamics that were going." He went into this big spiel about how the governments were working together, and there was some kickbacks here or there. Anyways, he had this whole conspiracy theory about it, and I just thought it was funny, and I chuckled, and I just said, "Well, I mean, we'll still take the gold, and you guys,
Yeah.
we'll take the silver, and we'll leave it at that." And he just kind of was like, "Oh, whatever." It was funny.
I'll still take our version. I think it's more romantic and more
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Not going to diminish it one bit.
No, not at all. I'll let you go with this last question here. Give me one word you hope people would remember you by.
Passionate. If
Yeah,
there's something that I want to get done, it will get done. Relationships that have been built. There we go.
that's awesome. Chris, you've helped me numerous times, as you can remember. I've been in your office numerous times with various injuries here or there, and I always appreciated your professionalism. I appreciated all the work that you did for our team and continue to do for Team USA. And it's cool to connect again and relive some of our old memories and times. And we were together a long time, and during some really critical times too in the evolution of USA Volleyball. And it's been great getting to know you and the work that you do. So thank you for everything.
Well, thank you for reaching out. It's always great to connect with players, current and former. Got a call yesterday from Donald Suho, who was mentioning
Cool.
CrossNet. He goes, "Hey, you got to connect with the Ryan Malloy." I go, "Yeah, I'll be connecting with him tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
7 a.m. I started laughing. So it's always good to have those connection points.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to Donald this weekend. Actually, we're going to get him on the show too. So
Good.
yeah,
Good.
he's
You'll
a
have a
good
few
man.
laughs there. I mean, gosh,
Oh
you
yeah,
can't
for
talk
sure.
about him without laughing at a few things. And most of the time it's at him. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. All right, Chris, take care of yourself. Enjoy your bike, and good luck with everything. Hopefully Tokyo goes as planned. And
Let's hope.
I mean, now that the reschedule plan, I tell people, if anyone can do it, Japan is the country to do it. They're going to organize it the right way, and it'll end up being great.
We're looking forward to the opportunity. Just try to get through the preparatory phase, get people healthy so they can compete on the court. Excited for it.
Yeah. All righty. Take care.
For all you're doing. You take care, Ryan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.